So welcome back to the Upward Spiral podcast. This is a part 2. I've never actually done a part 2 before, but last week I interviewed the incredible Sam Pillar, who is a Cicerone-certified beer expert, one of 7 in Singapore. And we had a bit of a chat about beer and non-alcs, and then we managed to try, I think it was 5, but that's not nearly enough. We've got a table full over there. We're going to get straight into it and try as many non-alc beers as we can, and I'm going to get this expert's opinion on which ones you should be drinking at home. So first up, we've got Mashgang Lowlife. Mashgang, British brand. Am I correct in saying that?
Yep.
Yeah, they've got a wide range of SKUs. I've tried a few. I haven't tried this one. Looking forward to it. Do you know anything about the brand?
A little bit, yeah. I know they're British. I know they, I think there's 5 guys that started it. None of them were from a beer background, but during COVID, I think they started sharing beers with each other. I think collectively kind of acknowledged the gap in the market. So, and I believe they had they tinkered with making non-alcoholic beers during COVID. They were all doing different jobs, and then through COVID they kind of realised there was something in it, and decided to start the brewery. So I think they brew the beer they contract brew out of Fierce Beer in Scotland, but they're distributing pretty widely across the UK. I know they've started brewing in the US as well, and their beers are available in Singapore.
Yeah, I interviewed a guy called Dan who does Sunday Festival and ice cream sundaes, and he's got a bar called Off Track, and he had Mashgang at the festival, more of some recent events, and they've just gone down brilliantly. I absolutely love their branding as well. It's just cool.
And they look like they created it in that kind of model of a craft beer brand, a bit quirky, a bit edgy. Yeah. It looks like a normal craft beer brand. So and they're quite innovative. They're doing lots and lots of styles, and that's the thing that really sets them apart. Yeah. Is that they're making styles right across the spectrum, and they're being quite innovative with types of ingredients they're using. So
let's get into it and try it.
Right.
While you're pouring, I'm just going to be talking. For anyone listening, it is 10 o'clock in the morning here in Singapore. Feels a little bit weird, even to be drinking non-alcs straight after breakfast. But
does a little bit, but
yeah, I feel like we're at a festival back in the UK. You wake up. I remember, going to like Reading and Leeds festivals. You wake up at 8 in the morning. Sun's come up. First thing you do is open a can of Carling.
Well, this is good. This is good for rehydrating. I went for a big run this morning, so I feel like I've earned these beers.
Well done.
So this is their take on a light lager. So light lager's an American style. It's like things like Miller Lite and Bud Light, which is super light, super thin beers that are made with adjuncts that thin out the body. They're generally about 4%. They're quite popular in America. They're generally quite tasteless, and this is their kind of quirky take on a light lager.
Nice. It's fizzy.
It's fizzy. Looks beautiful. Again, I think the what I've noticed about the non-alc beers is the head retention always seems to be really good, which is great, because I think then you get lots of aroma through that.
Sweet. It smells sweet.
It does smell sweet. It smells it doesn't smell like a non-alcoholic beer, and I think the thing with this, and I don't think I've tried this before, but a lot of light alcoholic beers are really quite tasteless. So there's possibility this is better than most American light beers.
Yeah, let's give it a go. Oh, it's nice. It's more bitter than I thought it was going to be.
Really good. It's got there's definitely some hop bitterness in there.
Yeah.
Not quite Pilsner level of bitterness, but it's really crisp, and
it's almost got like an oaty aftertaste to it.
I don't think they probably haven't used oats because it hasn't got the kind of murky or sort of cloudy complexion. But it's got a really nice balance. I mean, the thing is with a lot of the non-alcoholic beers, sometimes, as I said before, like the kind of the malty backbone sometimes isn't really there. But this is definitely there. It's actually got a really nice aftertaste as well. I think a kind of crackery, biscuity type aftertaste, which is quite satisfying.
Yeah.
This is really good.
Yeah, nice. I don't know, it just, for me, again, as kind of it just tastes like beer.
That's fantastic. I mean, I've definitely had alcoholic lagers that are nowhere near as good as that. And I could happily drink multiple cans of that. It's really great, really, really great.
That's going to be such a good quote for an Instagram post. Amazing. Well done, Mash Gang. Okay, so next one is the Mash Gang Pale Ale.
Yep.
Honestly, anything with a skull on, as you can tell from my t-shirt, I'm in. You know, I think the cool factor of these cans and like a lot of the other Mash Gang cans, where they've kind of got the cool like skeletons on and things, you want to be seen drinking it. And it's like the brand that's kind of just everywhere at the moment, the Liquid Death water brand is, you know, it's water, but you know, you put it in a great packaging and you want to be seen drinking it. It's cool to be seen drinking it. I think that is almost so important for bringing new people into the category.
Yeah, I think they've done this quite well across their marketing. If you look on their socials, they're quite sort of irreverent as a brand. I think they're trying to get distribution in more and more bars in pubs in the UK. I think that's because that's a bit of a gap, like non-alcoholic beer on tap. So yeah, hopefully they make inroads because that's much needed. So this is the pale ale, which will be hoppier than the lager. It's called Hawg. I'm not sure what that means, but it's going to be quite fruity, quite tropical, I expect. The colour's a bit odd, I've got to say. That I don't think I've ever seen a beer that colour. That looks, I'm not sure how I describe that. I mean, it looks like lemonade.
It does. It's it's pale, it's yellow, it's not much head on it.
Yeah.
It's fizzy.
Yeah,
almost looks like a cloudy cider.
It does. That's not what I was expecting. But that's okay. And the head retention's not there, but it's all going to be in the taste, right?
Yeah.
So
oh my god, it smells so good. It smells amazing.
Yeah, it smells tropical.
I could get pineapple.
Yep.
It smells sweet. It smells. I know just from the smell of this that I'm going to love this one. I love a pale ale.
It's great. I mean,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, really rounded. Lots of tropical fruit. It's actually nicely bitter. But yeah, pineapple's a good shout.
It's light as well.
Yeah.
You know, I honestly could feel like, I think with a lot of the beers, like non-alc and alc, like I could only drink like one or two. I could drink 5 of these. Like it's light. It's beautiful though. It's light, but with lots of flavour.
There's definitely some fruit salad vibes going on with that.
Yeah.
Tropical fruit, maybe a bit of melon.
Yeah. Oh, I like that a lot though. Well done, Mash Gang.
It doesn't look like a beer. That's the thing. I think whereas the Lowlife looks like a beer. So if you're ordering a pint of that, it looks and feels like a beer. This doesn't, but it tastes really good.
But I think, it gets to your situation in which you're drinking. If you're taking it to a barbecue or taking it to a party, the can is cool. It looks amazing. I don't think anybody would assume that you were drinking non-alc.
Yep.
Just by the can. It's not got zero plastered all over the front of it. So, I think a lot of people would just assume that you were drinking an alcoholic beer. But yeah, you're right. If you were to pour that into a glass in a pub, you might not kind of get the same look and the same feeling from it, but it does taste brilliant. Yeah. I'm going to get my dad on that. He's going to love that one. I think the other thing, so just to answer this question maybe, is would you take, would you drink different beers all night or would you tend to stay on the same one?
I generally, part of the reason I got into craft beer was because of the variety. So I generally will try different things. It depends where I am. If I find and it depends at what time I'm out, but if I find a good like pale ale or something that is around the 4 to 5% mark, often I'll stay on that for a few beers and then I'll try something stronger. But I do like I like to post stuff on Untapped. I like to experiment. So variety is definitely the spice of life when it comes to beer.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. I always used to have that kind of rhyme in my head of like, wine before beer, oh dear. Beer then wine, you'll be fine. But you know, because there was only being a very small woman, there was only very small amount of beer. I couldn't drink 10 pints throughout a night. It just physically is not possible for me. I could do a good 6 with Guinness, but that'd probably be like my absolute limit. But you know, I know how a lot of people say, okay, if you mix different wines throughout the night, you tend to get like a worse hangover. Would that be the same with beers?
It really comes down to the strength. So with wine, they're generally quite consistent, but with beers, I mean, what I'd normally do, like I say, is start off around the 4 to 5% mark. Those are called session beers, so you can have a session with them. But then I'll generally go to like the 6 to 8% level. But those are, if you have 2 or 3 of those, then you're gonna start to notice it. So, but it really depends on the strength. And most of them of the beers are made with high quality ingredients. So it's not like there's anything in there that's going to give you a worse hangover than anything else. Yeah. But yes, it's the ABV is the real difference maker.
Awesome. Okay, let's try another one. Next up, we got BrewDog, Hazy Jane. Big fan of the BrewDog brand. I think they've been great. I know much about them.
Yeah, they probably helped to accelerate the growth of craft beer. Yeah. In the UK and beyond. I know they've expanded at an incredible rate. I think they've gotten to a point now where they're so big. I mean, they're still a craft beer they're still a beer brand. They're still independent, but I think they've done a good job of becoming that kind of supermarket choice or a go-to beer, and their beers are generally pretty good quality. I don't drink much BrewDog nowadays, but because I'm experimenting constantly with new breweries and new beers, but they're still everywhere.
You do the honours. Let's have a look. So the Hazy Jane, let me just double check. Is that the?
Hazy Jane. This is the New England IPA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, let's give it a go.
So it's going to be hazy. New England IPAs. Hazy, very aromatically fruity. Actually looks it's like a similar kind of colour, like light straw as the previous one.
Yeah.
It looks a little bit, it's not very hazy actually. So, I mean,
it's quite clear, isn't it?
It's pretty clear. Pretty clear, which is unexpected. If you're going to have a New England IPA or a hazy IPA, it should be hazy. So I'm definitely not. I know we're not giving points, but I'm not going to point off for lack of for the clarity. It's too clear.
But what could that be telling us about the drink?
It's probably not going to have as much body. So a lot of the not a lot. Some hazy IPAs, they use oats in the mash to kind of give it that body and that cloudy look. So they've not done that with this one. So it means it'll probably be a bit thinner than your average hazy IPA. And I think if you're making a non-alcoholic hazy IPA, I would err on the side of giving it body, because that's what, as I said, that's one of the things that I think some of the non-alcoholic beers lack.
Smell it. Yeah, it's not as strong smelling as the last one. It almost tastes a little sour as well.
A little bit sour.
Smells a little sour. Yeah.
Yes, there's definitely pineapple again. It's almost smells a little bit like overripe pineapple. So if you go to like a fruit stand where there's some slightly rotten fruit, it's
almost a little durian.
I was going to say the same. Yeah. Little I'm not sure durian's going to be a great aroma in a beer, but I mean, I'd like to see it tried.
All those durians that you find in Scotland as well.
Yeah, it's kind of got that. I'm not as much of a fan of this. It's got a slightly off fruit, overripe fruit aftertaste is there, and overripe fruit can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing. So it's also quite dry.
Yeah, not so much of a fan of that compared to the other.
It's and it's got and sometimes that overripe fruit aroma can smell a little bit like bins.
Yeah.
So this has got a bit of a bin aftertaste. Not that I've tasted bins, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, you know when you get a mouthful of of the bin driving past.
Yeah, bin truck.
Yeah. Sorry, BrewDog. You've got loads of great SKUs. I think, this one's not hitting it for me either.
It's not. I wouldn't. Again, I would not choose to have that. It's just the dryness is a problem for me on that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's try another one. So this one is Holgate Brewhouse, Love All, non-alc pale ale. And this is Australian, product of Australia. I have never seen this brand before, so I've kind of got it in my hand. I've never seen this brand before. I haven't tried it. Let's give it a go.
I don't know much about Holgate either. I've heard of them. I may have tried their beers in Australia. I can't remember, but pale ale. So let's give it a go.
It's another one.
Wow. Well, let's see. Let's see how it pours out.
Oh, it's dark.
It's lively. Wow. Okay. Interesting.
It looks like Iron Brew.
It does a little bit. It's a great sound, but you should get more of a kind of raspy, kind of fizzy type sensation or sound when you take the bottle off. The cap off. So I'm not sure that's a good thing. And my immediate thought when I heard that was this is going to look rubbish. So that does look like it. Definitely looks like Iron Brew or Lucasade.
Yeah.
No head. It's got some bubbles. I'm not sure. I mean, sometimes with caps you can get oxygen into the beer, but I'm not saying that's happened. Probably hasn't.
When I don't drink alcohol, I still want to feel connected. I still want to have that moment. I still want to be in an environment, and I want a drink that looks like alcohol, that tastes like alcohol, smells like alcohol. I just don't want the negative effects. And so pouring this, maybe from drinking from a bottle, it'd be fine, but pouring this into a glass, I'd feel like I was drinking a soft drink.
Yep.
There's just no head on it at all, and it's very fizzy.
Yep.
And very orange.
Yeah, I think it's a big factor. If you were drinking a bottle, look, it's fine, but let's see what it tastes like.
Yeah.
Or smells like first. It smells all right, actually. It's got a kind of sweetly malty taste, aroma about it.
Smells like beer, but doesn't smell super strong.
I mean, it smells like a kind of a more like a not, because American pale ales are generally more aromatic and hoppy, whereas a British pale ale or some like a bitter style would be a bit more biscuity. I think like I compare it to digestive biscuits, but this is definitely it smells like more like a British beer than an American beer.
I actually really like it.
It's okay, yeah. I mean, I think the lack of the head definitely affects the aroma. It doesn't taste like a non-alcoholic beer. It is quite dry. It's got enough body to keep me interested. I'd definitely be happy drinking out of it. It's got a nice malty aftertaste actually. Yeah. Judging by the colour, it looks malty. It tastes malty. So I think having that malty backbone with a little bit of hop bitterness is really good. So yeah, that's a surprise package. Maybe they expect people to drink it out of bottles, and that's why they've not been too concerned about the about this. But actually, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm like, don't judge a book by its cover or by its pour, because actually it tastes pretty good. It tastes like a solid beer.
I mean, it actually does say on the bottle, it does say sweet biscuity malt and fresh hop bouquet, which I think is probably good. A good descriptor, but yeah, it's got body, and there's some of the lagers that lack that body, but that's good. I would definitely order that.
Okay, so next up is Hawkesbury, Australian brand. I buy a lot of my alcohol from Free Spirit, alcohol-free from Free Spirit, and Emma, who is one of the co-founders, loves the beer and absolutely loves this brand. Their pale ale is delicious, but we're going to be trying their 0% lager now. Have you tried them before?
I don't know anything about Hawkesbury actually, so I've got to admit this is a brew I've never tried before. Yeah,
let's do it.
Like the name Prohibition lager.
Yeah,
Bud did that with their first well, not sure if they're first, but they're with their non-alcoholic lager. But it's definitely got a bit of life to it anyway.
Yeah.
It looks like lager.
So on a night out, would you ever alternate between alcohol and non-alc?
I have never done that.
Yeah.
I generally would drink non-alcoholic beer if I'm actively trying to avoid alcohol, or if it's a night of the week where I kind of have that keenness for a beer but don't actually want a beer. But the thought has crossed my mind actually. A lot of the places I go to don't generally have that choice, so it's never really been something I've thought about in the moment. But maybe if there was Mash Gang, a night where I don't know, maybe I was going to work the next day or something, and I wanted to enjoy a beer and not have to go through the after effects, then it would be a good option, especially if it's really tasty. Yeah.
And I think that's it. I think if ever there is a place where you've got a beer menu and one page is alc and one page is non, I think the non-alcs are getting so good now that you might decide to choose non-alcs over the alcs because they genuinely taste better, regardless of whether you want alcohol or not.
Yeah, potentially. I think there'll be Mash Gang they're not the only brewery making non-alcoholic beer, but I think the style that they're doing it in, I think there'll be a lot of copycat breweries that come out. And I think a lot of the other bigger breweries or big craft breweries are making non-alcoholic beers. So I think they're only gonna get better and better as well as they start to compete. And breweries like them are kind of leading the industry forward.
Yeah, for sure.
So again, and this is a lager, so it looks like a lager. It's not much of a head there. I don't know. It's
a little cloudy.
I smell. It's got that kind of.
It smells like a roast dinner.
It does a little bit smell like roast dinner. That might not be a good thing, because I think what I'm getting there is actually slightly vegetal. And that's why it's like roast dinner. And vegetal is not a good thing.
Right.
So vegetal can be an off flavour in beer. So I think there's definitely, and maybe it's going back to my bin analogy earlier, but that kind of like slightly off vegetable smell. So that definitely smells vegetal to me.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I hadn't bought you an out of date beer, but it's fine. I've still got a year left on it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it is an off flavour, but it certainly tastes and smells vegetal. It's got a
it's more savoury, I think, than some of the other ones we've tried today.
It's got a kind of sharp and dry experience on the tongue, which I don't think I really like. Like it's really dry. That's probably the driest one I've had. I feel like I need to drink water now. After having that. So, whereas some of the ones we've had before have, because it's got the aftertaste is dry and quite sharp, or not that sharp's an aftertaste, but the experience. Whereas some of the others have got that kind of either pleasant hop character or a malty kind of aftertaste, whereas that hasn't got either.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect any hops from it 'cause it's a lager, but yes, it's not. It's just overly dry, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's very dry. It's so funny because like standalone, I've loved this in the past, but when you're putting things side by side, it's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Next one.
Yep.
Next up, Desperados. This just reminds me of nights out when I was sick of drinking whatever I would drink. I'd get to the bar and go, tequila beer, let's just do it. And I used to really enjoy one quite like late into my night, maybe when I was dancing and I didn't want to have a wine glass while I was dancing. Like it's just a lot easier to dance with a beer bottle. And I did used to quite enjoy them, which is funny because I absolutely hate tequila. Like cannot do it. Can't even do the non-alc tequila. Like just the smell of it and everything. But yeah, not sure how I feel about trying this. First of all, non-alc, and second of all, sober, because it just reminds me of being so drunk.
Desperados does evoke memories of big nights out. So, I mean, I actually used to quite like this is pre getting into craft beer. I used to quite like a Desperado. I've got really into. I really enjoyed margaritas. So, and I feel like if you're going to make a non-alcoholic beer that has got lemon, I mean it's lemon rather than lime, but if you're going to be adding fruit to it, then it's got a better chance of standing the test, I would say.
You know what I haven't tried yet? I haven't tried the alcohol-free Corona.
Okay.
I just can't get it here.
Right, okay, I've not seen it.
Yeah. I keep seeing people in the UK doing it, and I think there's been kind of like I can't remember what drink it was that's been doing the rounds, but people with a Corona, I think it's turning a Corona into a pina colada. And so you take some of the alcohol out of the Corona, some of the beer out of the bottle, and then you pour in some, I don't know, coconut milk and some pineapple juice and mix it all up, and you kind of end up with this,
right.
Pina colada made with kind of a Corona, so a Corona colada. And I've seen people making it non-alc with the non-alc versions, and I thought, God, I really want to try that. But yeah, just haven't been able to get it here.
They also do, I can't remember what the name of the drink is, but in Mexican restaurants, there's like a Corona Bloody Mary. So that's maybe one to try as well.
Yeah.
Non-alcoholic version
Non-alc.
of, yeah.
This looks good in the glass.
It does look good. It looks really good. I mean, the colour's beautiful, nice head retention, really, really clear.
Really fine bubbles.
It looks really good. Yeah. If you had a pint of that, you would not be able to tell the difference between that and an actual full alcoholic lager.
Oh, it smells amazing.
The lemon is...
It smells...
pretty full on, yeah.
It smells like a lager top.
It does smell like a lager top, yeah.
You know, for those who maybe aren't from the UK and don't want to know what a lager top is, it's basically a pint of lager with, an inch or two taken off the top, and you top it up with lemonade. Yeah. When I was in Spain a couple of weeks ago, I drank loads and loads of radlers.
Oh, yeah.
Again, can't get them here. Very rarely see them at home even. But in Spain, that's the thing, alcohol-free radlers. And I tried about 10 of them, different brands. So good.
Yeah, really good. And you get loads of radlers in Germany.
Yeah. It smells
great.
great.
It smells really good. Yeah. I remember the Desperado, I'm pretty sure was lime and tequila, I think, rather than lemon.
You'd always have a lime wedge in it.
Yeah. A bit like Desperado can be a guilty pleasure. Actually quite like that.
I quite like it as well.
I think probably because there's so much lemon in there, it doesn't really, it's probably hiding lots of some of the stuff that I've talked about with other beers. It's probably masking some of the kind of the shortcomings of the beer. I'm not saying it is, but it's I would definitely buy that.
Buy that, but pour it out in a glass so nobody knew what you were drinking.
The amount of lemon in it, and it's actually got a pretty good. The consistency of it does feel like maybe even more than a lager. It tastes like almost like an IPA.
It's actually a bit sour, like from the lemon in a good way. Like it's sweet. It's a little. You kind of get a little bit of tartness or a little bit of sourness from the lemon, and then you kind of get the beer. So you get these kind of different layers to it. And we're trying all these beers warm as well, and I think cold. That's going to be great.
Great.
Yeah. Sitting by the pool, having one of those.
It feels like this sort of beer that I would take to a barbecue. And it's actually quite Moorish.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. I think boat party as well. Like you could just out in the sun, ice cold.
Yeah.
This would be great.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're sat here going, Desperados is great. We've got all these amazing craft beers and we're going on about how good Desperados is.
I would say that it looks and feels like a beer. It doesn't really taste like a beer. It tastes like it does taste like a lager top. But yeah, as an alternative to a beer, it's got a lot going for it.
Yeah, one thing I will say, don't expect any hint of tequila in it. So there are some amazing alcohol-free tequilas on the market now, and some are just absolutely brilliant, and you really get the flavour and just everything. And you're not getting any of that here. I don't think there's any kind of tequila alternative in here. But it is great. Actually, really surprising. Next up, we got Gage Road's Yeah Boy. Now, I actually had this in Australia when I went down to Margaret River at Chinese New Year, which is one of my favourite places in the whole world. And love kind of sitting on the beach in the evening, trying all the non-alc beers and just watching the kids play and eating fish and chips. And it's just so good. I can't remember what I thought of it, but I do remember trying it. And it's always going to remind me of those moments. So this is an XPA. Can you tell me what an XPA is?
So XPA stands for Extra Pale Ale. It's not a. I don't think it certainly wasn't a specific style up until. It's not an official style, but it's kind of a hybrid between a pale ale and an IPA. So it's kind of pale ales are generally not as hoppy as IPAs. IPAs are much more assertively hoppy. So XPA kind of bridges the gap between the two.
Cool. Yep. Let's try it.
Gage Road's very solid.
They do
brewery.
They do alc as well.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And their beers are very widely available in Australia. They've started to appear in Singapore now as well. Oh, wow, that has got some life to it. Try that again.
Yeah, for those listening, massive, massive head on it. I think they've got a couple of non-alcs, if I remember correctly. Thank you.
Yeah, this is the first one I've seen, actually.
Yeah.
But that is very lively.
It looks great, though.
It does look great. It looks really good. Yep. It looks like a...
big, thick head on it.
Yeah.
Fluffy, small bubbles.
Looks like a pale ale. I can smell it from here as well. So there's definitely... it's definitely because the head's so big, but I'm definitely getting hop aroma from here already. Yep, it's hoppy.
Getting the sweetness, but again, it's that sweetness that's almost a little sour.
It's a little bit, yeah. It's definitely tropical fruit salad, pineapple for sure. So, but if that's the fact that you can start to distinguish aromas from a beer is a sign that it's pretty good. So that's a good thing.
I was about to say, because I actually feel like I can really taste papaya in it, and I don't know if that's because I'm not the biggest fan of papaya, that's why I can taste it.
I really like extra pale ales because they're often quite light. I find in terms of the body, but they're really, really flavourful. This is, the aroma is great, like really tropical, but yeah, I mean, it's got a pleasant bitterness to it, a little bit too dry, again, for my liking. A little on the vegetal side again, I would say. Maybe better if that was cold.
It's fine. Like, honestly, like, I think it's good.
Yeah.
But it's not like, compared to maybe some of the other ones that we tried, I'm not like, oh my gosh, this is the one. Like, if it was the only non-alc beer on the menu, I'd be happy with it.
Yep.
It'd be great. It'd be fine. If there were a couple of other ones to choose from, maybe I would, maybe I would choose something else over it.
The more I drink it, the more I like it, actually. I think it's got enough body and enough backbone to keep it interesting and keep it tasting like a beer.
Yeah.
I think you could have a pint of that and forget you're not drinking an alcoholic beer.
I think that's it. Like, it tastes like beer, looks like beer. It's great. I think just in terms of my palate, which, let's face it, is not very distinguished when it comes to beers. Just for my palate, it's not my favourite. I do like the brand though. Next up, we have got 4 Pines Australian Ultra Low, 0.5%. I only know 4 Pines because my husband likes to drink the alcoholic version, so he doesn't really drink a lot of beer, but when we do, that's kind of the beer that we will have in at home or we will serve to guests. I haven't tried their 0% yet. Do you drink the alcoholic version?
I've had it.
Yeah.
It's available in Australian bars in Singapore. So and it's fairly easy to get hold of. So I have tried it. I'm not the biggest fan of the alcoholic version.
Yeah.
But it's a nice, it's a beer that you can drink in good quantity when it's cold, but it's not a particularly doesn't wow with the taste.
Cool. Let's give it a go. Let's see if this one changes your mind on it.
Okay.
I'm loving that we've tried some really different non-alcs today, and the previous session as well. I've actively tried to avoid the Heinekens and so on, especially in Singapore. It seems to be kind of the only one that we can get absolutely everywhere. Just really hoping to introduce the audience to some different products that are available on the market. And if you necessarily can't get them in like your local supermarket, just have a little hunt online, because often you can pretty much find anything.
And actually, this tasting has made me realise how many. I mean, I knew that non-alcoholic beers were widely available, but and I have tried some, but the sheer volume of alternatives and brands that are specialising in the space have actually been an eye opener.
Yeah.
For me.
And we've got a box of probably another 10 or 12 that we haven't even tried. Let's get you back for a third time.
Yeah, this I think suffers from the same challenge that we had with one of the other beers, where it does look a little bit like a soft drink.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty heavy bubbles and carbonation. The great thing about appraising the appearance of a beer is that it should excite you and go and make, and it kind of gives you some anticipation for what you're about to experience. And this doesn't excite me. So
yeah.
But then again, I think we had the beer from Holgate, which looked a bit uninspiring, but was tasted really good. So definitely don't judge purely on the appearances.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, its aroma is very similar to the last one, and actually, quite a lot of the non-alcoholic IPAs smell quite similar. They kind of do the tropical fruit thing fairly well, which is fine. I mean, that's kind of what a American pale ale kind of gives off. So
Yeah.
with enough maltiness to keep it significant.
They're kind of just all blending into the same thing now. I think maybe that's kind of why that Desperados stood out so much to us, because it was different, right? I think you can also probably tell that I like a pale ale, right? So that's probably why, I probably should have maybe chosen some ones that are a little bit more Pilsner based or a little bit more different.
Yeah, I think there's been a pretty good variety. But yeah, again, that has got enough malt weight behind it and the hop aroma, and it's quite crisp and quite refreshing.
Yeah.
That's actually a lot better than I expected it to be.
Look, I really like it. Again, it's like another solid option that.
Yep.
I would definitely have these in my fridge. I would definitely offer them to guests. I think cold, great, whether you're like in a bar or whether you're picnic or at home or whatever. Just a really solid non-alc alternative.
Yep.
Maybe nothing super special or wowing about that, but maybe that's just because we're, sitting here smashing through them all.
It's not. There's no real wow factor, but I think with the pale ales, because they offer the kind of maltiness and the hoppiness together, it makes them it's a step up from the lagers, and some of the lagers can taste quite middle of the road, whereas these pale ales I think offer, and actually I've always generally if I'm going to have non-alcoholic beers in the fridge, it would be a non-alcoholic lager, mainly because they're easy to get hold of. But I'm thinking now that I need to stock up on non-alcoholic pale ales.
Yeah.
Because I would definitely drink more non-alcoholic beer After this experience, for sure.
Yay! Okay, and then last up, we've got Flat Tire Dry Hop beer. This one we think is American. First time trying this. I don't know much about it. You?
Nor do I. I mean, there is a famous beer called Flat Tire from the US.
Yeah.
I don't think it's from Pistonhead though. But it's a lager, dry hopped, which means the hops are added in the fermentation. So in like a bag. So with the beer production process, you put the hops when the beer is boiling, but dry hopping means adding beer later in the process. So it should give more hop character to the beer at the end of the day and more hop aroma.
This should be quite different from the pale ales.
Yeah, it'll be like a popular style from the last few years has been one called India Pale Lager, which is kind of a hybrid lager and IPA. So it's a lager that's got lots of hop character to it. So yeah, I don't expect this to be like super hoppy, but it should definitely be a bit hoppier than your average lager.
Nice.
Perhaps without the same sort of bitterness as a Pilsner.
I feel like I've learned so much. I mean, even just in the 2 sessions that we've had. I'm like, okay, the difference between a Pilsner and a dry hopped and an XPA and a...
I mean, I could smell the hops when I opened it, but this ticks the boxes of a beer that looks like something very appealing. If that's in the glass, I mean, it's a nice golden, sort of straw to golden colour. I think great head retention again. Yeah, that looks the business.
Yeah, it does. It smells great as well.
Yeah, a bit of hop,
It just smells like a beer, you know?
Yeah, it does. I think
a lot of the other ones that we tried had a bit of this, a bit of that. This just...
Yeah, smart move putting doing the dry hopping with the lager, because it really does. Yeah, it's really it smells really nicely balanced.
It tastes like a proper lager.
It does. Yeah, that's got it's got really good body to it. And
are we sure that's non-alcoholic? Like, okay, yeah, it is. It's got it all over the can.
Really good. I think it's bitter.
Yeah.
Not overly bitter, not like Pilsner bitter. Nicely balanced between the hops and the malt. But I think the thing that it's really got about it is it's got really kind of a lot of body. Like the mouthfeel is quite significant for a lager. I mean, it's probably lagers are sort of generally very crisp, but it's almost got a pale ale type character to it.
Yeah.
But
it feels fuller somehow. Yeah. It feels that I just can't describe it very well, apart from the fact that it just feels like you're drinking a proper lager.
Yeah.
You know, it's got the bitterness, it's got kind of the layers to it. It's a little bit dry at the end, but it's still thirst quenching. It's ticking so many boxes that I wasn't expecting.
Probably the most balanced beer we've had across all of the different parameters, and I think the key to it is the body. They've got that right, because it just feels it's just got some real weight to it that and that combined with the nice hop bitterness just makes it feel like it doesn't feel like an alcoholic lager at all.
At all.
No.
I keep tasting it and I'm like, it still tastes like a real beer.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is something I could give my dad and he just wouldn't know that it was non-alc.
Yeah. I actually think if you did some blind taste tests with that, you potentially would. This is really good. This is one of the best ones we've tried for sure.
Yeah. Well done. This is great.
That feels like one that I need to buy for the fridge.
Yeah, I think so. And also test out with your beer-loving friends.
Exactly.
See if anyone knows.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll taste even better cold. as well.
Really good. Yeah, that's great. That's probably, I would say, in the top 3 of the beers we've tried.
So let's do top 3 then.
Yeah.
What from last week and today, if you can remember the ones from last week, what do you think are your top 3?
I can remember most of them from last week. I would say this is definitely there. I'm going to put a vote in for the Mash Gang Lowlife.
Yeah.
Because that just has it ticks the boxes across the board. I think also the Four Pines. I know we've been just had it, but the Four Pines was a surprise. Although I think I would it loses points for the way it looked.
The drop bear we had.
Drop bear was excellent. Yeah. If I could do a top 5, I'll include the Desperado in the top 5, maybe at 5. But yeah, probably Drop Bear, Mash Gang, this, and then either the Holgate and the Four Pines both tasted really good.
Yeah.
But just they didn't really have it from a kind of beer or a rounded beer from a beer point of view. So
it was just how they looked in the glass, right?
Yeah.
But the shocker was the Desperado.
Yes.
And we both liked it as well. So this is awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your knowledge. Do you think this has maybe changed your perspective on non-alcs? I know you were always open to them anyway, but...
Definitely has. Yeah, definitely has. Because I feel like when I've had non-alcoholic before, and like I say, it's a beer that I would have when I'm actively trying not to drink rather than swapping between the two. So there's always been that kind of first sip sensation, which is it looks like beer, it tastes like beer. I feel like I'm having a beer, and then mentally you forget you're not having a beer.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, with a lot of the big kind of macro brands, those beers can get a bit boring. Like I often couldn't have more than one. Whereas some of these beers, I could definitely have more than one, and I feel like I would probably increase my frequency of drinking non-alcoholic beer, just because of the variety, the complexity of the taste. So I'm definitely going to be adding some different brands to my fridge from now on.
Yeah, it's come a long way, I think, even since COVID, even just in 2-3 years.
Yep.
The difference has just been amazing.
It is big time. I think it's only going to get more competitive as other brands enter the market, as the brewers manage to get their beers on tap. I think that's a real game changer, because a lot of the non-alcoholic beers are generally only available in the fridge behind the bar. I was in Ireland recently, and Guinness 0.0 is pretty much everywhere, and it's really good. But other than that, you don't see many non-alcoholic beers on tap, and I think that's potentially the game changer. Yeah,
for sure. And I think we've had a number of people on this podcast who work in hospitality, and it's really just trying to change the narrative within that industry. I think are people going to buy it? Do people want to pay the same or similar price point? We know that it's going to be a little bit less, but it's still not going to be as cheap as a soft drink. But from my experience and what I've seen, when you've got it on the menu, people are looking for it, and people are trying it and buying it. And it isn't just people like myself who don't drink, it's more people like you who do. I think there's only 15% of people who completely abstain who are drinking non-alcohol alternatives. 85% are people who drink and just don't want to drink alcohol for that one drink or that occasion or that day or whatever. I think there's definitely something in kind of the mixing and matching throughout your night or on different occasions. And let's hope hospitality catches up soon to the demand, because there are just some brilliant products out there. Thank you so much, Sam, for coming on. I really appreciate it. And to anyone still listening, we're hoping to build a community of people who are looking to cut down their drinking and don't really know where to start or what it's going to mean for them. Please let me know what you think of the podcast. Any comments, likes, shares would be amazing. And hopefully I will see you soon. Thank you very much. Bye.